Hey guys, I don't really know how to start this video in a positive way. Before we get into it, this video is going to be a little bit more serious than my other ones. But when discussing mental health, as you can see in the title, I use Dark Souls as an example, but really it's video games in general. So why am I doing this? Well, recently a news report came out about a certain boy that unfortunately took his own life because of school bullies. Now obviously this is an awful thing anyone has to go through, but it made me think of my own experience. Now, I don't have any children, but I've gone through some stuff in my life and I feel comfortable enough to talk about it, and I think when discussing mental health, I think it's something that you should talk about. And I guess one of the other reasons why I want to talk about this is because last weekend I kind of had a slip up. But we'll start from the beginning. Well, where all of the issues with my mental health began. Now before we get into it, this isn't a please feel sorry for me video. I don't need your pity. I'm at that age now where I can semi-deal with it on my own. But you know, having help is always nice. So this is going to be kind of like a draw my life kind of video, I guess, but with a sort of serious tone and hopefully a message to go with it. So, when I was 8 years old, my dad was murdered. It kind of shocked everyone in my family, obviously, because that is a huge thing to happen, and I don't remember too much about it. I think I've suppressed most of those memories. But moving past that, 4 years later, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Now, if you don't know, type 1 diabetes is normally a genetic thing. But my dad was adopted, and we didn't know his parents. So we didn't know if it was genetic or not. And when we approached the doctors and asked, they found something that they have never found before. Basically, when my dad died, my body went into meltdown, into shock, and my organs stopped working. And that is why they think I have type 1 diabetes. So that's always a constant struggle. And diabetes is a very common thing to have. It's a lot more common than you would have thought. But moving forward into my teenage years, when I was 16, I had what me and my family call my meltdown. Now this is when something snapped in me, and all of a sudden I didn't want to smile, I didn't want to laugh. I wasn't a very nice person to be around. You know, I went a little bit batshit, to put it in layman's terms. So, because I felt depressed all the time, I went to the doctors. And that was when I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. Now this was a game changer for me, because I could put a label on why I felt the way I did, and I could start working at bettering myself. But there were times where it was dark and I didn't want to better myself. I had those silly thoughts. Now, I said if you guys are uncomfortable just talking about this, just by all means come back in a few days and I'll have a better, happier video. But like I said, this is something I want to talk about. So the fact that I wanted to better myself, I think, is really important. You can be content with who you are and how you are dealing with life, and that is perfectly fine if you are happy and content with that. But I obviously was in a situation where I wasn't, so actively trying to get better and have a positive outlook on life was a real struggle for me, and I still struggle with it every day. But the important thing to remember is that you are working on it now. I'm gonna start that. I've talked enough about me. You know what I went through, and I'll talk about how I'm going through it and maybe give some advice on the way from someone who's dealt with this kind of thing. So if you are going through a tough time, maybe just have a listen and hopefully I can shed some light on your situation. I think the most important thing to remember is you're not the only one. There are billions of people in the world. Never feel isolated, because that's something I struggled with. I always felt like I was dealing with it on my own, and that's just simply not the case. The internet is a scary place, but there are people there who can help. There are websites that you can talk to random strangers about anything. I mean, hell, I will even put my Discord in the description of this video. If you want to talk to me, if you are going through a rough time, and if you want to talk to me, my door is always open. My internet door is always open. I can't stress that enough though. You are not alone in this. And I think we should get to the topic of the video, is how do video games factor into mental health? Well, the thing that was consistent throughout my entire life, and will be forever I assume, were video games. My dad introduced me to video games. We played this Star Wars fighter game, I can't remember what it's called. But when he passed away, I started playing point-and-click adventure games like Curse of the Monkey Island and, you know, games like that. So games have always been a factor in my life. That's always been consistent. I've dabbled in other hobbies like sport and making music, but video games have always been the saving grace. They've always been my safety net. And I never really think about it. I owe video games a lot. And now there's so much scientific research that shows that video games reduce stress and anxiety. And I suffer from social anxiety a lot. I cannot step out of my house without wanting to throw up. It's bad, but again, I'm working on it. And I'll come back to it. I'm actively working to better myself. And like I said, if this doesn't apply to you, I'm sorry you have to endure this. But if it does, don't be happy with who you are at the moment. If you feel like there's something wrong, making that first initial step to actively try and better yourself is such a great achievement in its own. Even if you think about it, even if you don't do it at the beginning, if you just think, I need to get better, then you are taking a massive leap forward. And with someone who suffers from PTSD, I'm really proud of everyone who does take that initial step, because it's very, very difficult. It took me almost 5 years to make that step. I don't really see an end point to this video. I mean, I could talk for a very long time about these kind of things because they mean a lot to me, because they have been it's been this thing attached to me. I have this label now of being that guy who is a depressive guy. And I'm talking about actual depression, not the I lost my wallet depression. Something that you can't help. And again, that's another key factor. You can't help the way you feel. Do not take drastic action. It's been said before, but suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And I play that over and over in my head every single day. I have tried meditation, I've tried drugs, prescription drugs, I might add, but it's a very serious topic, and it's a topic that many people feel uncomfortable with. And again, I'll reiterate, if you are not comfortable, I am sorry that you had to listen to this type of discussion. But the community that is on my channel, I care about immensely, and I know a lot of people in the Dark Souls and video game community in general does suffer from depression. So having that voice telling you that everything's gonna be okay is like finding a pot of gold at the end of a rainbow. You are worth something to someone. Bringing it back to video games, it's not just a hobby, it's a way of life, for me especially. What I did in my spare time, I now do to reach a global audience. I have things to say and people want to listen. And not everybody wants to listen, but a select few of you do. And if I can help or be there for just one person who's going through a tough time, then I feel I have done my good deed for the day, I guess. And the way I've found all of you is through Dark Souls. Now, I know I didn't really want to talk about Dark Souls, but I guess I will talk about Dark Souls. Dark Souls 2, people ask why I love that game so much. And I always come up with some bullshit answer like, oh, this was, you know, they had the better PvP and the better lore and stuff. But realistically, it was the first time in 20 years I was excited about something, and that was Dark Souls 2. I honestly didn't care if it was good or not. I was just happy I could feel excitement and joy again. I was hyped, basically. And when you are down in the dumps, getting excited about something is insanely difficult, and Dark Souls 2 managed to do that. So there's my answer. That's why I love Dark Souls 2, because it made me happy again. And that's why I love this series, because it's kind of meta in a way. It's almost as if I was hollowing. And the Dark Souls 2 acted as a humanity, I guess. That was a really stupid comparison, but hopefully that made sense. So to sum it up, you guys who are feeling down, you're not alone. And like I said, I will put my Discord server in the description if you do want to talk. And I'm sure there's going to be people in the comments who you can talk to. People have met each other through this community of ours, and they have formed friendships, and that again makes me happy. Another thing, and this isn't a shameless plug, if you do want to talk to me and actually have a conversation, if you watch my live stream, I will more than happy have a discussion about whatever you feel comfortable with verbally. I know a verbal conversation can be a little bit more therapeutic than typing on a keyboard. So again, I'm not trying to plug my live stream. People know I live stream. But if you want to come over to my Twitch and just talk, I am more than down for that. So I'm going to end it here, guys. I hope you feel better, or if you feel worse, I'm sorry. But that's going to be me done for the day. I'm going to see you guys in a few days. I'm going to be here. I hope you guys are going to be here too. Take care, everyone. Be good to one another. And have a great day.